Yeah, we can.
Alrighty, oops, sorry.
I don't know why all you see is the top of my head.
All right, so I'm going to share my screen and then I'll open this up for everybody. And I'm going to play this from start. Can everybody see okay?
Yep.
Great. All right.
If everybody could either jot the questions down or wait till the end and just let the flow go here. But we will address the questions later on. We got a couple more I'm going to admit now. Oh, one more. Do I need to admit Lisa's AI note taker or not?
Yeah, that's probably what's recording.
Okay. All right. I'm going to mute myself again now.
All right. Becky, are you introducing them?
Oh, sorry. So DuPage VBM Pollwatchers. Just a little background on me. Jeff Perkins was the one who initially discovered this in 2022, that they were using these alternate signature sources to verify signatures on ballots. And what it is, you guys all should have received one of these, this three-way folder, trifold folder, and they have these applications, and all you have to do is sign it and return it. And then they are apparently scanning these in and associating it with your voter record. And then what happens is if you mail your ballot in and your signature on the ballot doesn't initially match the signature and the voter registration record, they'll pull up these applications. And lo and behold, what we discovered in 2022 is they all matched this application. And the thing that's concerning about that is, I've looked through the voter list in my own precinct and found as many as 50 that were obsolete just from knowing my neighbors, knowing that this house was sold or that these kids, have grown up and moved away to Maine 8 years ago or whatever it might be. So there's potentially a lot of these applications floating around out there that could be used in, if you get applications for the person who lived in your house before you could sign it with your own handwriting, get the ballot, sign it, send it in, and they literally could not detect it at this point. My theory is that one-offs like that, one at a time, is not a lot of bang for the buck if somebody's looking to manufacture ballots. Large apartment complexes could be. And so the goal that I have is part of the signature verification process, is to try to identify precincts where that are with flag signatures. And ideally, I don't know if it'll show this or not, but try to see if some precincts have a lot more bad signatures than others, and then see if those precincts also have large apartment complexes. And that would tell us something. That would tell us, if nothing else, that we need to try to get people to be more rigorous about cleaning up the voter rolls in large apartments. So that's kind of my main goal and what I'm working on. Can you go to the next slide there, Lisa, and see it? And I know there's a lot more to it, but to me, this is kind of the low-hanging fruit, or the most bang for the buck, and that's what I'm going to be kind of focusing most of my effort on. The DuPage Administration Building, for the main county building, is 421 County Farm Road. You go in, they have a security clearance now, they have to bag check, which is, easy enough. And then there's an atrium. You can ask where the atrium is. It's outside the auditorium. There's a bunch of tables sitting there. Ideally, the election judges work 9 to noon and 1 to 4 themselves. Most likely, they gather there in the morning also. So if you're there by 9 o'clock, they're all going to be there, and you can just kind of follow them wherever they go. But the atrium, you can sit there. If you get there and there's no one there, then we'll explain, where you can go to, try to find out where they're at. But, their schedule's pretty structured, I think. There was another thing. Oh, and, as you go in, all you have to do is say, I'm a poll watcher to the first person that looks official, and they'll say, okay, and they'll tell you what to do, you know? So just, you don't have to worry about going to the wrong place as much or anything. Just say, hey, I'm here to poll watch, you know, and then whoever you're talking to will say, okay, here's where you go, and this is what you do. And so, you know, people will be available to just, you know, direct you where you need to go. Can we go to the next slide?
Yep.
So on Monday morning, or probably the whole day Monday, they'll be pretty busy, and I'm assuming maybe Tuesday as well, because they've got probably, you know, a backlog, a week's worth of mail that's come in. You know, tomorrow is the first day that they're going to be processing these ballots, and I assume the first thing they're going to do is, you know, take their bins and start feeding them through this automatic sorting machine that they have. And then they'll do the signature verification. And then it's the same group of election judges who do the signature verification. And when they've done, you know, everything that's come in the mail for a day, then they move upstairs and do the next step in the process. So anytime you go there, you know, there'll only be election judge stuff to monitor in one spot. The unfortunate thing is, even, you know, it just depends on when the mail arrives. Sometimes the mail doesn't get there until 2 o'clock in the afternoon, which means there may or may not be anything to do in the morning, you know, especially maybe not this coming week, but the following 2 weeks. It just, and there's nothing they can do about it, you know, or that we can do about it either. And the best I can say is bring something to do, you know, and that atrium area has all these tables. You can have food there, you know, and that's just what it's an unfortunate fact of it, but that's kind of what we're asking people to do. Does that cover anything else to add on that, Lisa?
No, that's good. The only other thing is, if you don't see anyone in the atrium or auditorium, you'll need to go to the basement if you can arrive after 9 or in the afternoon. So, but you can always go to the office and ask them to take you there, because it's a little hard to find your way around. All right, so we'll move on. So I'm going to cover this, but Becky's going to sort of fill in if she hears anything that we need to change, you know, add to it. So who are poll watchers? They're official election observers, and they can view every process of the election that is going on at any facility. They need credentials to get in there, and we'll talk about those. And then they can go anywhere, like early voting, at a nursing home voting, during vote by mail processing, which that's what we're concentrating on here. During provisional ballot processing, they can be at any process of the election. Who is eligible to be a vote by mail poll watcher? All must be trained and carry poll watcher credentials. That includes any registered voter in DuPage, but they'll need to have the credentials of an affiliated political party or an organization. Precinct committeemen can be poll watchers, as well as candidates. All of them, though, would need to be trained and carry credentials with them. So what are credentials? This is what you'll get from us at the end of the training, but it's the official credentials that are carried. This one happens to be our GOP, Republican Party. But you need to fill in these blue areas. So the poll ID is VBM. That's all we need to fill in there. You're going to need to fill in
that again, please.
I'm sorry, the poll ID, and we'll make sure that instruction is in that when we send the credentials as well.
All right.
But it's VBM, which stands for vote by mail. That's the poll ID that you're using here. Like if you were, you know, there, you can fill it in with whatever facility you're going to. But that's what we are going to be doing, and that's what you fill in here.
Yes, each polling place has an ID number, like election day polling place, and the early voting polling places have probably an ID number also. You can actually go, you know, fill in the rest of it and go to the polling place and just ask them, hey, what's the poll ID here? And write that on when you get there. But, you know, for the central processing facility, they've asked us to put VBM. And they want a paper copy. I don't know if we have this in the next couple of slides. They want a paper copy of it because that's how they just keep track of who was there. That's just how anywhere you go. they'll take it from you. You can come and go during that day. You don't have to give them a separate copy every time. You know, if you want to go get something to eat and come back, you can do that. But every day you need another piece of paper to hand to the election judges.
Yeah, so typically what I would do is just get my copy of my credentials, and you can fill in your name, your street address, your municipality, you know, your city, your county at the top. You can do the same at the bottom, but I wouldn't sign it yet. And then I would just make copies, a bunch of copies of that, because you always want to have extra copies with you, and then you don't have to fill it out every time. And then you just have to fill in the poll ID and the signature, because sometimes it's, as it says here, poll watcher's signature, you may be required to sign at entry of arrival. They don't want you to sign it before you get there. So that's why I would wait till I get there. You never know. They may be fine having it already signed. It just depends on the polling place. But always bring extra blank forms is what we suggest. So what you do when you get there is you have to surrender that actual sheet of paper, your credentials, to the election judges or the clerks or the staff. Separate credentials are required for each day you observe. So any day you go there, even though you already handed one in the day before, you got to hand it in again that day, because they keep them in a logbook for each day. Observers may be instructed to sign a logbook as they enter so that they know what time you got there. And then if you leave and maybe return later, you have to sign out and sign back in. But you don't need new credentials for that day. You only need it one time for the day. You're welcome to go in and out.
And I just thought of this, it won't be in the atrium where they take the credentials. It'll either be, as you walk into the auditorium, there's one door that they want people to enter and exit from, or it will be downstairs where the signature processing happens. They'll probably have, and actually, I don't know if they move that whole thing upstairs with them or not. But anyway, it's not in the atrium. It's when you actually get into where ballots are being processed.
One of the rooms.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Okay. So what do poll watchers actually do? We're just going to describe at the vote by mail center in on the County Farm Road building, that these are the 4 different possible things that you may see, and we want to go through all 4 of them with you, because you may get there and they're not doing the signature verification, and that's what we're really trying to concentrate on. But we want you to have something to do while you're there, and there's other things you can watch. So we're going to go through all 4 of them. First one would be observe the envelope sorting, signature capture, barcode scan, and envelope being slid open. It's an automated machine. So this is located in the basement. This will be the first step if you're a ballot coming into this facility. The first step would be this ballot is run through the machine to capture the signature. The barcode is scanned and the envelope is slid open. That's the first thing that happens. The second thing that happens is before that signature or before that envelope with the ballot inside can move upstairs, it has to have a signature verification. It can't leave that room until it's certified that that signature matches. So both of these processes are located in the basement, and those are the first 2 that happen with an actual envelope that comes in. That doesn't mean that's the order you're going to be poll watching, unfortunately, because we don't know what time they're doing all these things. The third thing that happens if you were a ballot coming in is your signature. Once your signature is validated, the boxes of ballots and ballot envelopes are moved up to the auditorium now that they've been verified. So that's when the ballot is removed from the envelope, inspected by the election judges. And what they're looking for is, does it have, marks or bad, things on them? And then they have to sign it. We'll go through each of these processes further on the next slides, but I just want to explain to you what that does. So that's located in the auditorium. And then the last thing that happens is you observe the ballot scanning. It runs through a machine and they count the ballots. No vote totals are made until election night, but they move the ballots through to scan the votes. And that's also located in the auditorium. And poll watchers, this is a statute that says you have the right to observe all procedures of vote by mail. So we're gonna walk through the 4 processes in more detail now. But the signature verification, we're gonna do a lot more detail because there's a lot more to that one. So the observing envelope sorting, signature capture, and envelope slitting, like I said, it's just a machine. There's not much to see here. People are more than welcome to watch the process. You're allowed to, but all that happens is the envelope image is captured. It's capturing the signature and the date. The envelope is slit open by the machine, and this is not moved to the auditorium until the signature is verified. And what you watch for here is you're watching for ballots running smoothly without damage. Where are the ballots put after scanning and slitting? Are there rejected ballots? Write them down. You can write down name and address of the ballots that are rejected. Are there election judges from each party observing? That probably won't happen, but that's just something to note. Note any irregularities that you might see. I put a spec in here for the actual machine. If anybody wanted to look it up, you can copy that.
Hang on. I'd like to just throw something here.
Sure.
They run it through this machine once, and it can detect if an envelope is too heavy, or if maybe someone put 2 ballots in one envelope. It can detect if it got mangled by the mail. But the first pass, it reads them all, it associates them with the voter registration signature, and it kind of rough sorts them into groups of precincts. And then it's verified. And then after the verification process, if the election judges actually challenge, reject any of the ballots, the Agilis machine knows that. They run it all through again. In that time, anything that has been rejected on the verification gets sent out. I don't know if it gets slid on the first time or the second time. It might be the second time. And then it goes upstairs. So I'm just explaining that in case you see it like running through again, or, it doesn't, you're confused about that. They do send it through twice. And the second time it reflects what the election judges did with the signature verification.
Becky, are you going to be sending out the PowerPoint too?
We could do that.
I would like you to, because this is the first time for me, and I'd like to have it to kind of go over again in the morning.
All right. Is that okay, Lisa?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. All right. So we're going to move on to the next one. We're going to skip over number 2, which is the actual signature, because we're going to go a lot more into that, but we want to walk through what is happening up in the auditorium now. So this is after the signature verification. You're observing the ballot removal from the envelope, inspection of ballot. So the election judges, they're going to be sitting in the auditorium in these long tables, and they're going to remove and examine the ballots. And it's difficult to see like the actual ballots themselves, because you're almost 10 feet away from them. We were told there are going to be monitors there, but they were not there on the walkthrough. But what you'll be able to see them doing is they're removing them from the envelope. They're checked to confirm there's no whiteout or bad markings. The ballots are initialed by the election judges. So once they decide that they're okay, that's when they are going to sign them up in the corner and put them in a stack, and these stacks are going to be scanned. If it has whiteout or bad markings, they usually, bring it to somebody's attention, one of the head election judges. They come over and look at it. They put it over in a different pile, and what they're going to do is remake that ballot. And under the direction and viewing of both parties. But that's what they're looking for. So what you're looking for while you're watching them is, are election judges removing the ballots from the envelope? Are there any rejected ballots? If so, where are they put? Are the election judges initialing the ballot? They're really just sitting around talking. The judges are all, when I've watched this before, they're all just chit-chatting with each other and discussing different things, because it's kind of like a mindless process, But there is stuff to see. I mean, I remember they were they were putting ballots in a ballot box that said rejected ballots that were supposed to be scanned, or they were taking them out of a rejected ballot. Like anything you see that's abnormal, write it down, and ask questions. So, anything else you can think of over there, Becky?
No.
And then the observing the ballot scanning, they're run through these scanners in batches, but votes are not tabulated until election night. And then they're put on a thumb drive at the end of the night. So what are we looking for? Does the election judge run it through multiple times? That I'm not saying that's wrong if they do. Sometimes they get stuck and they have to redo it. I've seen them do that before, but you should question, why was it run through more than once? Is there a count that comes up on the monitors? Write down what it says, write down anything abnormal. Mostly you're just watching them scan ballots.
There is a screen now that you can,
Yes.
see what they have screens set up, and like a nice large screen.
Yeah.
I haven't looked at that part, so I don't know exactly what you'll see, but
Yeah, there was a count that would come up on those monitors that said how many ballots were counted.
okay.
And then maybe a running total of the day or the entire process would come up. So you'd see numbers on the screen.
Okay. And do they put the end of day tabulations actually on a thumb drive, or do they not do that until November 5th? Or, the day before?
I don't know if it's done each night at the end. Well, they said at the end of the day, they're added to a
Oh,
thumb
is it? Okay.
Yes, I thought that's what they said. Okay, so now we're going to go back to number 2, because this is the one that we're going to have a lot more information on. So the observing the signature verification, that happens in the basement after they run it through the machine. So I'm just going to try to describe it to you, and maybe Becky can help you, because so you're going to be sitting behind 2 or more election judges who are viewing a monitor. Now, there should be one from each party, or sometimes there's 3 at each monitor, but there's multiple monitors with this setup. On the monitor, there will be 3 to 4 different voter envelope signatures on the screen that they're verifying. So it's not like you're just seeing one at once, like you do, at the pads, the poll pads when you go in to vote in person at a polling place. It's not like that, because this is a scan of the envelope itself with the signature on it. So you're looking on these monitors, and they're sort of concentrating on, they'll do the one to the right, then they'll do the second one to the right, then they'll do the third one to the right, and then they'll go to the fourth. So they're concentrating on one signature at a time, and you can sort of follow along with them. But you are seeing multiple things at once. And the other problem is that there will likely be multiple monitors with this setup. So you almost need to pick one to observe, or, you could jump around if you hear somebody say, no, this one doesn't match, and you can go over there and write down information. But there is a lot to see down there. So that's one thing to be aware of. Anything else you can think of on that, Becky?
No, that covers it pretty well.
Okay.
I don't want to do something. I can't remember what was on the next slide, so let's go ahead and go.
Okay. So Pollwatchers' rights and limits, the statute establishes the Pollwatchers' right to observe. You may see signature comparisons on screen. You may request verification of voter for reasonable cause. So that means, you don't see that the signature is matching, or you see some other issue. You should report incidents or decisions of serious concern. And this is kind of a big point here. If you've never poll watched before, your presence alone can support judges to follow statutes. Just you being there is huge. And we see it all the time, that people being there to make sure they're accountable is the best way to do that. So it's a big part of it. So what are you looking for when you're verifying a vote by mail envelope? So all required information must be completed and accurate on the VBM envelope on the screen. So their name should be there, their address, the date received, and the signature. Make sure the signature on the VBM envelope matches the official signature on file. We have details to follow. So those are the items that should be on the screen. When you're doing the signature verification.
Excuse me, so on the screen, there's going to be 2 signatures?
Yeah, so what they'll have is the image of the envelope that they just scanned in the machine to compare it to the official signature on file.
On the poll pads, like when they vote on the day of.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep, and we'll go more into the signature match in more detail, but that's basically what you're looking for. Specific categories. Did the election judges flag a ballot or an envelope? So they marked it to check for the signature. Usually when that happens, they say, no, I don't have a match here. If they do that, you definitely want to write down information on that flagging. Is the
How do
ballot?
you know if they flag it? They just say it out loud?
Yeah, so they'll bring over one of the head election judges to have a third person look at it usually. What I'm trying to think of other ways, but you know it when they'll say this doesn't look like it matches. And so there's a procedure that they go through to try to verify that it matches.
There's a procedure. When I watched it in 2022, they would do it in batches. So a batch would be anywhere from about 25 to 75 or 100 at a time. They'd go through and do all of those, and they would kind of discuss it if they thought it was bad. And then usually they would say, let's check the box on this one. And then after they finished a batch, then that's when they would go through back to the flagged ones, and they would call. And that's when I think they'll bring up more of the voter's record and alternate signature sources is what they call them. And that's when they'll pull up, these applications. Sometimes as a voter has signed had to come in and sign an affidavit in the past to prove their signature. That's more rare. Most of what I saw in 2022 was these applications that they used to as a separate source to verify a signature on a ballot. But it's, as far as identifying which ones they flagged, it's pretty obvious. And it'll be, they'll batch process it, and then they'll go back and deal with the flagged ones separately. And that's when, to my mind, that's the time to really pay attention and try to capture those ones that were flagged. That's what I would like to know about.
And sometimes what they need to do is actually go pull out of the box the actual envelope and bring it over to view it. Everybody view it in person. Maybe it's a faint signature, maybe it's a tear in it, that's some of the ways that they'll check it. Is the ballot certificate envelope signed and dated? That's another thing that you're looking for. Is the signature markedly different? Sometimes, your signature changes over the years, stuff like that, but there's more on later slides that show you kind of things you're going to be looking for. When the scanned image of the signature is small, faint, markedly different, observers have the right to reasonably request determination be paused to allow review. So that's when you say you want to challenge, that didn't look like it matched. I would like to challenge that. Envelope missing signatures must be rejected and voter contacted to be remedied. So, if it doesn't have a signature, that's a huge red flag, and that the runback should catch that, but the Agilis machine should catch that. But that's one thing you're going to be looking for. So judging a signature match. Most signature comparisons meet reasonable match standard. Remember, observers are not present to attempt to disqualify voters, but to ensure election laws are followed. Unintentional errors do occur. So, if you see that the signature is nowhere near or doesn't look anything like it, obviously that they should catch that, but that's something you should say. If there's question, you can always challenge it. But they ultimately have the final decision. The election judges do. So the rule is 3 judges need to review the challenge, but sometimes they will just disqualify that challenge and say it isn't needed. But that's what we're talking about. They're going to flag it and sometimes the flagging is due to the poll watcher flagging it. Most ballot signatures are fine. Watch for the odd ones, and let's review some examples. We're going to see that coming. Anything else on there that you can think of, Becky?
No.
So, how closely must the signature match? General uniformity. We all know how, you sign with a funny rubber end tip pen, and it's a lot harder to sign as opposed to when you're signing with a regular pen. So that's why sometimes you're just looking for the overall style, the slant, the size, certain letters they make bigger than others. And we're going to show you a few examples of those. So the proportion, see how like the heights of these, the first letter as opposed to the second, the first person, everything's almost the same size, where the John Quincy Adams is all, different heights going on, or the way that they curl their Y's. We're just going to do a few of these here. The spacing, like, do they have a big space in between different things, or do they run it all together? Those are ways you can look at this. Pen lifts, so they have a separation between the J and the O on John Adams, or no separation on some of these. It's all run together. Those are different things that you can look for that really help you notice, well, maybe it looks the same, but the spacing is just a little different. Reasons for poll watcher challenges. If in your opinion the voter signature doesn't match, a vote by mail ballot may be challenged or rejected. So you do have a right to, this is a little redundant, but we just want to make sure everybody understands, you do have a right to challenge a signature, but the final decision is up to the election judges. We always have to make sure we're polite and non-confrontational when challenging. So that's one thing to remember. Poll watchers should document the following if you challenge a match. Note if the election judges look further in the file for other possible signatures. Write down voter's name, voter number, address, and date, as much info as you can. Those are things that help us identify, when a challenge is made, because many times they'll just say, no, I think it matches, and you just move on. So writing those down is always good. If no legible postmark next to the voter's signature, or if the ballot envelope image is damaged or unreadable, if any of the required information is missing. So those are all reasons for you to challenge. When to raise concerns. Is it time to call us? These are egregious things that we want you to be aware of. You're not allowed to view signatures at close enough range. So like they tell you, you have to go on the other side of the room when you get there, or you're not allowed to see them. Reasonable signature concerns are dismissed systematically. So if you're raising concerns about a signature over and over again and nobody's listening to you on any of them, that's something to be concerned of. Refusal to pull the original envelope for examination. So if it comes to a question where the envelope is damaged, or there's a question on how the signature looks and we need the original and they won't do it, that's another one. If you're denied observing every process, that's a concern as well. Any process you're allowed to watch. And this is just, again, about courtesy. Challenging a mail ballot does not mean the voter has given false oath. The challenge is to safeguard the voting process and the voters. So signatures do change over time due to illness or medical condition. Postal workers do make mistakes. Family members who move and ask other family members to send mail do make mistakes. Government agencies conducting registration can cause problems. There's different reasons where there's mistakes are made. It doesn't always mean that it was a fraud, I guess, that's what it's trying to say. But we do have to note it no matter what. Any other thoughts on that, Becky? That slide?
No.
Okay. And this is just a reminder again, because we cannot give you an idea of when these different things will happen. That's why we wanted you to know all of the 4 stations so that you can always go observe those if that's what's going on at that when you arrive. So, you know, we just don't have control over it. And then we have Becky's number is on here. If there is, if there's a need for questions to help, we forgot to, we're probably not going to ask for reinforcements because we're just going to try to give as many people as we can. We forgot to change that one, Becky.
Yeah.
And then last, that's where your emergency contact was. We can always use more help. If you have any other friends who are willing to help, that's awesome. And being flexible is great if you can do it and cover for people. And you know, anything you can do to help, we really, really appreciate it. It's a huge deal to get this facility covered. So thank you all very much for taking this training.
Yeah. I see a couple questions in the chat here from Denise. Who is transporting ballots from the basement? Are they supervised and by whom? I don't know if there's a camera on them. Like, they have color-coded trays. Yeah, I mean, so you imagine they've got 90,000 ballots they've mailed out already. You know, I mean, it's a big job. And what I found from talking to the election division staff over the last month or so is they really care about making sure every ballot is counted. And that's great. That's their job. You know, I'm still concerned that not every ballot should be counted. But I think understanding that they're really, you know, their focus is a little different than ours is helpful to just, you know, they don't want to lose anything. They don't want to mess anything up. So they are hyper focused on being, you know, organizing the stuff they have, you know, so I know they put things in trays. I assume that it's, you know, carefully monitored when they move it upstairs. I can't imagine there's any way for them to mess around with it then, but I suppose that's possible.
We've
And
all
then-
ridden up the elevator with that cart before.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
yeah, we've had people ride up the elevator with the cart.
Okay.
It just seemed concerning to me, that's all. I just thought it was odd that,
Yep. And
how was it watched? Is there a camera watching that? I mean, I'm just asking. Yeah.
no, that is a really good question. And we asked those same questions just about, is there a camera on all the doors of the facility while we were there? And there is, they said.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And where do the ballots that are actually counted physically go at the end of the night? Is my understanding they box those up and tape it. Is that agree with what you heard, Lisa?
Yes, they box the ballots that have already been run through the machine. They put them in these big white boxes and they have a seal put on them. And then the room is locked.
Okay.
Is what we're told, and there's cameras on all doors. And we can
What about
FOIA
the jump drive though?
that is supposed to be locked up in the room, is what I was understood. I mean, we could ask Scott McKay that, Becky.
I mean, it's such an easy thing to duplicate. That's why I'm asking.
Oh yeah, no, I understand. And that's what we were told is the zip drive is, I believe they said locked up in the room with them.
This is a crazy process. Sorry. It just is.
It is a very crazy process.
It's just not stable. It's not stable.
Right. They were moving to all these different rooms and stuff, but that's why we want people there to see what is happening.
Okay.
On a basis.
Another thing I just thought of that isn't on there. You can have your phone on your person when you're in the places, but it cannot be out. It has to be in a pocket or in a purse. And I think, you know, they're going to be really vigilant about that. Even if you just want to check for a text or something, they'll probably yell at you. So, you know, just have some place to put it away. And if you need to text somebody or something, then, you know, step out of the room to do that.
Yeah, they're super concerned about people taking photos and seeing, you know, compromising a voter's ballot is what they said, but any other questions or?
I have a question. This is Danielle.
Hi, Danielle.
Hi. Is our standing space, is there like designated space? Like how, I know you said we're like 10 feet from ballot observation, but as we kind of move to different areas? You know, how do they do that? Do they
The
tell?
basement is a little crowded. It looked like they kind of rearranged from 2 years ago, and they've kind of spread the monitors out to make a little room there. Up in the auditorium, picture banquet table set up as an S. And in one end of the S, that's where they open the ballots kind of inside that. And then in the other part of the S, that's where you can stand. And they've got monitors facing that show different sort of the remaking of the ballot. So you can see what the judges can see while they're remaking ballots, and also the scanning process. And I think they said there's supposed to be some monitors for the ballot opening, but they didn't have that set up on the walkthrough. So I don't know exactly what that's going to look like. But yes, they're kind of using these tables to direct people to keep people. They don't want people reaching out and grabbing ballots or something. I mean, that's why I say their focus is to make sure they don't lose anything. So that's the thing they care about. I'm sure none of us are going to try to do that, but
yeah, when I was there, every time I was there, they always allowed you to sit in chairs as well. There's usually chairs sitting around, and you can sit in a chair behind them if you want, or if you can see better, you can stand up. And that brings up one other point: is you're not allowed to touch any of the election stuff as a poll watcher, but a chair is not considered. So you can move the chairs around. So, but you're not allowed to touch anything else. So.
And when we do have a concern, we can bring that to a judge's attention, or we're just calling that hotline number.
There is concerns that you can ask about. I will tell you that they do not love somebody constantly asking them questions. They get pretty irritated with that. I have to say. It's not, so you don't want to ask them questions about it. If you have a question about what you should be doing or what's going on, you can always call a number. But what you can do is say, hey, that signature doesn't match. Why are they pulling ballots out of, canceled ballot boxes? Those are the questions you can bring to the direction of the head election judge. There'll be two of them there usually, or more. What's the other girl's name? Stephanie and what is it, Becky?
Leslie. Yeah, I can't remember the last name.
Yeah, there you'll see that there's two of them sort of directing everyone, or they're doing the ballot scanning, or they're greeting you and taking your credentials. There's two people usually in charge, and one's supposed to be a Dem and one's supposed to be a Republican. So.
I'm sorry, can I ask a question? Because I do have to leave here literally in 2 minutes. I'll be there at 8 o'clock. I know you're going to send the PowerPoints, and also that form you said that we have to fill out. How will that come through email or through mail, email?
Yeah, yep. I can get that to the email to Becky to send. She's going to send out along with a sign up, so you can sign up for a spot.
Okay, that comes through the email.
Yes.
Through email.
Yeah, BeckyRudolph5@gmail.com. I'll be sending that out, later tonight at some point. I still have a few more.
Okay, great. Yeah, Lisa's got my email.
Yep, I've got her email. So I'll get it to you.
I have one question before I run out of here. My only other question is, I know I'm sounding like I spy with my little eye, but we know, because we know what happened last time. Who watches these monitors? Is there somebody supervising that? At the end of the day, all the people that were recorded, because we know that was tampered with last election, is somebody watching that? Is that footage locked up somewhere also? Is there a Republican and Democrat both witnessing that at the end of the night? Because that was a problem.
You're talking about inside the room in the auditorium or inside?
Right, there should be monitors watching us, which means we're being recorded. Everyone's being recorded, right?
We were told there are no monitors in the room, right, Becky?
There's no cameras recording in the auditorium, I believe. That was what I remember.
What they said was, I know, but they close. So what is supposed to happen is at 4 o'clock when they're done, those doors are locked, and you have to have a security clearance to get in. And no, there's supposed to be monitors at the door. So after 4 o'clock, anybody who gets in, they would see them on the cameras. That's what we're told.
Well, that's insane. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm just really whoa, like, it was such a problem before.
Yeah. No, I know what you're saying.
That could
Okay.
be a useful thing. If they put a tally of how many have been scanned, it would be kind of useful to track that. And make
Yeah,
sure,
because you go in
Hey,
the next day,
you
yeah.
know, yeah.
Well, they also posted online. Do you have that link, Becky? Because maybe everybody can check what they post online, what came out of that facility that day.
You
What was-
know,
That's awesome.
I'm getting the file, hang on a second here, I can,
I have that link if you want, I can send it to you.
I haven't looked at where's, I'm
So maybe that's something we should
flipping over to Teams.
add to that poll watching list, is that they should check the number. If somebody's there at the end of the day, check the number that's been counted on that monitor if you can, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But
So
you guys
this-
understand, we've never been allowed to view what they do before and get this process. This is the first time we were able to do it.
It boggles my mind.
Yeah.
This is a list they send out daily, and it shows you, this is from, I guess, last Thursday.
Right.
So it shows you 108,305, and this is both permanent VBM and early voting. So if we look, actually, okay, yeah, I was kind of playing around with this. So
This one is just probably showing what was mailed, because they shouldn't have counted anything yet.
yeah, it doesn't show anything. So then eventually this shows you the date that it was issued. Then eventually it will have, sorry, I have to move this out of the way. It'll have the date that it was received back, whether the status of it, whether it's challenged. And so far everything is not returned yet. But this also includes the people who have voted early, which is 11,000.
I have one more question, so I'm sorry, because I'm running out of here.
Yeah.
There was a situation actually last election where my husband's ballot was actually, when we went in to get our ballots, his name appeared that he voted already and he didn't. The election,
2020.
it was 2020.
For Trump.
Right, for the presidential election. That was my husband talking, sorry.
Right.
At any rate, when we were in there, we were more ignorant at the time. I've learned so much since then, but we didn't really know what to do. When we asked him, I saw his signature there. I said, no, it doesn't match. He would never sign his name with his initials. That's what it was on a ballot. That's ridiculous. And they're like, okay, we'll let him vote. So they let him vote. And this was right here in Westmont. He voted, but then they said, I asked them, what happens with the other vote, the other ballot? Because apparently someone voted with his name and they didn't have an answer to that. So what happens with that when they have a ballot that needs to be voided? What happens? How do you know? How do you know that's been voided?
So they shouldn't
For
have let,
example, with the early voting, you turn in, if you have a mail-in ballot, you have to turn that in so it can be voted. Voided. How do you know that that's been done?
I asked Scott about this, and I don't know if that applies exactly to your situation, but the poll book, when you go in to vote in a polling place, the poll books sync automatically, in real time with their central system. So, and we discussed this, particularly, what if someone has already sent in their application to get a vote by mail ballot? They maybe even haven't gotten it yet, and then they come into a polling place. It will tell the election judge that they've requested the ballot, but if they go ahead and sign it there, they also are supposed to sign an affidavit.
right,
Saying who
Isn't
they
that a
are.
provisional ballot? Is that what
yes,
We don't actually do a provisional ballot anymore, but
Really?
the poll book, when they sign that poll book, it's supposed to update the central computer system that they have voted in real time. So then if they were to subsequently mail in that ballot, the Agilist system should kick it out. That was my understanding.
It should kick it out. And how do we know?
Well, I mean, I think it will, but
So there's no answer.
So is that a clear
So
answer?
this whole mail-in ballot stuff sounds like a fraud.
Yeah, that's a problem. Yeah.
No,
That's a good question. A lot of people have that question, and that,
yep.
how do we really know? We don't know, and that we weren't even given that answer last time, except Mike Lindell telling us that, and I met him personally, said that, well, yeah, you got a number. There are lawyers in each state, and there is a app for Mike Lindell to contact them so that they can come and investigate it. But meanwhile, does that really work? How do you really know?
And how many
Right.
times does it happen?
Right.
Right.
Mhm.
Yes, I've heard other people talk about that same thing. I mean, the what you do with that is you contact election integrity. There are different things that we have to Becky's going to send everybody, and that doesn't answer your question exactly, but she's going to send everybody a form to use for reporting incidents. That's one thing.
Okay.
There's lots of different places you can report incidents. There's apps that you can use. The True the Vote has an app. I don't know what we decided, Becky, on reporting this. Are we going to use the GOP one, or are we going to use the True the Vote? I guess we have to talk about that, because we've been trying to so hard to get this up for you guys, ready for you to watch.
Okay.
So you can report this stuff for sure.
Mhm.
You can report these incidents, and there's lots of different places that have lawyers on call for these. So that's
You
the good.
understand my apprehension, that's why.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm. All right.
I'm gonna send a link in the chat.
Elliot, at the end is, can be.
I just-
sorry.
No, I just sent a link in the
I'm
chat.
sorry, this is being tallied though, so every day it's not being tallied, it's just being held, and it's not gonna be tallied until November.
The
election day.
votes are not tallied. The individual votes are not tallied, but the number of ballots are tallied.
Okay.
That's how they do
Gotcha.
it.
Okay.
Yeah. I just put a link in here, and I can share my screen real quick and show you what I sent. But this is what and maybe this is something you can look at. This is what is posted every day. Now you can see there's no vote by mail numbers, but it shows you how many ballots were counted at each facility, and it'll have one for vote by mail. So maybe what we need to do is look to see what's on the screen, look to see what's on the screen at the end of the night if somebody's there at 4 when they close, and match it up to what they post.
Did you send that by email, Lisa?
I put that in the chat, but maybe that's something Becky wants to send. I'll let her.
Yeah, it was up too fast for us to record.
Oh, it's in the chat. So if you click on your chat, you can go in there and do it, grab it. That's the tally I was talking about. Becky, have you looked at that? Have you seen that one? Because that's
Where's
public
that?
and anybody can grab it.
Please include it in the PowerPoint.
Yeah, maybe we can do that.
I'm starting tomorrow, so I
I know,
really need to get to work on this.
I know, I'm writing my notes of what we need to add here. You guys are our guinea pigs, so.
I don't like it. My printer went out of ink today too, so I've got to get everything printed somewhere else.
Well, maybe you can just keep it on your phone as a PDF.
I'm gonna come down now.
Yeah.
I got it. I see it on there, so I see what you're talking about. I appreciate everything that you guys are doing. Sorry for all the questions. And now I gotta run out of here. It's been a long day. I have a friend out in Florida that's been a nightmare with the whole hurricane going there again and everything else. And it's been a long week. So, yeah, so anyway, just send me whatever you need to send, you guys, and I'll figure it out from there. But if you guys come up with answers to any of that, it's just concerning to me because, I'm concerned from last election. We know what happened. We know that there was videos that were tampered with. There was even just transporting things. They found them in closets and all kinds of crazy places. I'm sure a lot of people probably watched. I mean, we knew about that before, but when Dinesh D'Souza was putting it together for 2,000 Meals, you'll see it even in there, what happened. So, and then what happened to us actually in the election where they said he voted already, which was crazy.
Right.
So, and then we're told, well, you need to take a mail-in ballot with you to prove, because it's the only proof you have that you didn't vote when you go. That was the word at the time. And then what happens with that then? How do you know it was voided? That just concerned me. Like, what are they doing with all these ballots then coming?
Yeah.
Are they all going to be voided? Can that be a possible opening a door for some kind of fraud?
Yep.
But my understanding is they aren't asking for the ballot. They don't spoil it anymore. They ask you to sign an affidavit.
Yeah, I
So
think
they,
they
so
changed
they
it.
are
I'm not saying
asking
it's
for,
right or wrong. I'm just saying that's now the policy because the poll books are updated in real time.
okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, guys, I gotta go, but thank
Thanks
you.
so much.
Use
Thanks,
this time for
everybody.
Whatever you need.
Yeah,
Okay,
thanks everybody on here who joined the training. Thanks a lot.
sure, bye.
I have a question, quick one.
All right.
So you're saying from the primary, which we just did, I'm an election judge typically. We were still doing the voiding of the ballot. So if somebody came in that had requested a mail-in ballot and he didn't have it with them, or he or she didn't have it with them, we couldn't spoil it because they didn't have it. They had to vote provisionally. So now you're saying they're not doing that anymore.
You know, I was asked that. I asked Scott McKay. I'm passing along the answer that he gave me. I haven't done it myself. I haven't been an election judge. I don't know that directly. This is what I was told.
That is what I also heard from
Yeah.
Nancy Hayes, who's a election integrity sort of expert in this state. She also confirmed what Becky said, that they're now asking you to sign an affidavit because a lot of people are surrendering their mail-in ballots and voting in person.
Correct.
And if they forget it and they sometimes they'll say, well, do you have it at home? Can you easily go get it?
Right. Right.
But she said the same as Becky, that they're asking you to sign an affidavit that you did not already vote, that you're not going to mail your ballot, and you are allowed to vote.
Okay, so that's as of this November 5th, or right now while they're doing early vote.
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to clear it up because I hated doing provisional ballots. They're
Yeah.
awful
Yeah, everybody does.
because they almost don't even get counted. They sometimes, so.
Correct. Yeah. It's not where you want your vote to be, is in the provisional ballot.
No. Okay.
Any other questions or thoughts?
So I'm going there tomorrow morning at 9. So I guess I figure out what's happening when I get there, right?
Yeah,
Good,
you
you can answer all my questions when I get there at 1.
Yeah.
I'm leaving at noon.
It's you and I, Paula,
Okay, Don.
like old times here.
Yep.
Hey, please send that stuff so I can get it printed, okay?
Okay. I will-
I just want to, thanks for everybody for chipping in, spread the news. We do need more poll watchers. We're coming tomorrow, as I recall, but pretty light on Tuesday. So
I just signed up today for about 19 days.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Awesome.
You're amazing. That's awesome.
You'll be
Yeah.
telling us all how to do it.
I said I will wait and see what happens tomorrow, and then I can pick more time. So
Yeah.
I just have to
And-
figure it out.
This is the first time this has been done to our knowledge. So if this could be improved, our training in that, we want to know.
Yeah.
And we
How
will.
many poll watchers are they allowing in a shift? I
They
mean,
don't have a limit. I asked about that and they don't have, it's pretty wide open. There's plenty of room in there. So yeah, they said it wasn't limited. And they also, like in polling places, you have to have credentials, like, 1 per candidate, 2 per party. They don't have that either. So we're all just going to use Jim's. And just for the rest of you, Jim Zays, he's the chair of the DuPage GOP, and his credential is good anywhere in the county because he covers the whole county. So.
And you may find that there's lots of other people there in the early on from other organizations, different organizations will send people. So you may find a lot of people early on here. You'll see them there.
do
I
the
just
judge,
got an inquiry from Kennedy people to come and poll watch. One of them was an election judge. They replied.
Oh, wow.
So
RFK, yeah.
do the judges have any identification on who's a Democrat and who's a Republican? So you know if they're pairing off like they should be?
Great question.
Yeah, we kind of asked about that, but I don't remember what they said.
They said they don't normally wear that, but you're allowed to ask them.
Okay.
You are allowed to ask, and I mean, we've, you know, I asked people who are in pairs doing, you know, doing the signature verification or doing opening ballots or, you know, doing things in pairs. I've asked them before. That's up to your discretion if you want to ask.
And if they're not pairing off well, would that be considered an incident?
Yes. Yep. There needs to be one from each party at all observations.
Do we know if there's any guarantee that the judge slots that they did fill, did they have enough volunteers for judging that they have enough to equally pair off in a 1-to-1 ratio?
Becky, didn't you ask that and they were supposed to send it to us?
You know, I first met with Scott and Stephanie in August sometime, and she showed me a list and we looked them up, and they actually, I think they have a crew of about 12 to 16 people that do this, and I think actually more of them are Republicans than are Democrats, to be honest. So
Yeah.
That could be good, that could be bad.
yeah.
How about some independence?
Yeah. To me, it's kind of like, you know, the DMV. You know, you go there, you get your license, or you register your car. You can't go around yelling at them for being slow and not doing it right, or you're not.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the same way. Like it or not, they're in charge, and we're kind
Yeah.
of dependent on them. And Lisa and I have slightly different. You know, she's willing to be a little more confrontational than I have, and that's great. I'm happy. Yeah, I'm a little more trying to be nice and get them to cooperate with us and be on our side. So two different,
Yeah.
you know, but
Yeah, but I mean, you can ask to challenge something in a way that's not confrontational, I guess, you know,
sure.
that there is a way to do it. Just say, you know, that I don't think that signature matches or whatever. That doesn't mean that you're, you know, it's telling them they're not doing their job necessarily. You just have a different view on how that signature looks. So.
Don or Becky, did any of you share this information with Andy at NTRO?
I have been sending some of my stuff out to all the township chairs.
Is he hasn't sent anything out to the PCs in a formal way, you know, soliciting for volunteers. So I didn't know if I needed to help nudge or if he had all the information.
You know, I sent something to the township chairs last Thursday, so I don't know, you know, maybe he hasn't gotten to it. I can send it to you too, though. I'm pretty sure. Let me make sure I've got your email address. I think I must.
You do, yeah.
Oh, I had another quick question.
I'm
So
gonna
if I
have
have
to
some,
leave, ladies. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no, thank you so
Okay.
much.
All right. I look forward to getting that. Have a
Yep.
great night, everyone.
You too. Thank you.
so if I have somebody that's not living in DuPage but wants to be a poll watcher, can they?
I don't think so.
Okay.
They have to poll watch because, I mean, they can poll watch where they live.
Right. I just was asking.
Would you know what county it is? Because we can help hook them up with somebody.
I want to say it's either Kane, wherever St. Charles Road, and North Avenue, and where St. Charlestown Mall is. Is that Kane or?
Yeah, that's Kane, and I just got an email, look where their Kane was looking for poll watchers. I'll send it to you.
Okay.
Somebody's definitely allowed to take a training from another place if they need.
Okay.
Just our vote by mail training is a little different, but the regular poll watching training is usually pretty similar. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right. All right. Well, I think we're done.
Yep, I'll this recording I'll render, and we'll decide what to do with it.
Sounds good.
How do I get the stuff that you were going to put in the chat? Where's the chat?
Oh, if you click on the bottom, do you see on the bottom? There's
in the right-hand corner.
There's a little button that says chat down below. Like there's a.
Oh, I see it. Yeah.
Click on that and you'll be able to see. And I did put that PDF link.
Okay, got it.
Questions, but I think if Becky wants to send that to everybody, or we can add it to the the PowerPoint, but that is a way to check how many votes were counted each day to the public.
Okay.
Actually, I think I'll vote by mail. Okay, so it is early voting and vote by mail, right,
Yeah, it'll have the vote by mail, but they haven't started yet.
right.
Right.
So that should match what they've put out, what they have on their screens at night.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we would be able to tell the next day, I guess.
Yes, right.
Okay.
All right. Sounds good.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Everyone, have a
For the-
good night.
Great.
Good night.
Night.
See you in the morning, Don.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.